G'day Bomber fans, make it four in a row. The girls are on fire. It's a great result for the club. We jump back into the 8, but gee, we got to talk about that game and just the state of it. It was not pretty at all. It was a dull game of footy that was forced upon us by our opposition and the league itself. Expect a rant or two in this video about that, especially because there's a bird going absolutely ham outside my window right now. It's grinding my gears. Also, you've probably already seen my last video. It's a double upload today. This morning, news broke about the figure in our club rooms that forced the AFL to act. I've talked about that this morning, so go check that out if you want another reason to go all in on supporting the girls right now. They're showing a lot more heart than the boys are. Okay, quarter by quarter recap. Friday night footy, it's usually fast and frenetic. This was neither. The tone was set early. It was pressure-based. The Dogs were flooding that back line and making it really hard for us to do anything. They parked the bus and restricted us to just a few behinds. On the flip side, though, they didn't even get close to scoring. They made it hard for us, but impossible for them with this defensive mindset. The second was even more of an arm wrestle. Don't let the scoreline fool you. It was just as bad as the first. It was more of the same. The ball was bounced and they just threw back numbers behind the ball. They did get a few behinds and a few looks at goal, but it was just another boring quarter. The only reason we scored was from a late, dubious free kick that put Steph Wales directly in front of goal. If that free kick wasn't paid, the half would likely have ended without a goal being scored. The third, the Dogs were behind but still focusing on defence. To be fair, they did get a bit of territory as they did in the second, but they didn't score. They didn't really get too close, but again, they stopped us. The game was being played in our half and the Dogs were happy to defend. The fourth opened up a bit. I think maybe the Dogs realised that they needed to free up and equalise if they wanted a chance at winning, and it allowed us to hit the scoreboard a bit because there were less numbers back in our forward line. We more than doubled our score in that term. We kicked a couple of goals thanks to Beth Keeney and Brooke Walker. In the end, we won really comfortably. It was a breeze, but a low scoring one. It was 26-3. So let's talk about this game. Okay, let's start by talking about our opponents real quick, and I just want to start this by saying I really like the Bulldogs. They are my second favourite team, both in the AFL and in the AFLW. Before Essendon joined the AFLW, I went for the Bulldogs. My Bulldogs. I don't have Bulldogs. My family go for the Bulldogs. But they're really struggling. They're struggling to defend. They're struggling to score. Last night, they had a plan set in mind. They were stopping us from scoring, get as close as they can on the scoreboard and hope frustration bubbles over and leaks appear for them to rebound and score. It kind of reminded me, and I don't know if you'll get this or not, but it kind of reminded me of Sean Dyche soccer. I don't know if anyone here has watched much Premier League, but you hate going up against Sean Dyche away from home. You'll get the win, but he drags it out of you and he really makes games boring. That is what the Dogs did last night. Even our coach Natalie Wood threw a few shots in talking about how they threw back 3 players behind the ball at times in their D50. You often saw our girls with ball in hand look up the field and then go sideways or backwards just because they had so many players back there. And even with those numbers, they still had a negating tag on Maddie Gay as well, who's in our defence. So they probably only really had less than a handful of attacking players on the field. It was a really dull play style. It was a comfortable win from our girls. Even when we were a goal up, you knew we'd get the win. It was tense, but not really scoreboard worrying tense, just tense around the ball. I was more worried about a historically low scoring game. We didn't get that in the end, but for Friday night footy to be dished up like that, it was a bit embarrassing. At least though, we can safely say it wasn't really our fault. The Dogs are trying out new tactics to reduce scoring, and to be fair, they did, but in the process they made the game a shocker. And also, without heaping the blame on the Bulldogs solely, in fact I think more blame deserves to go here, we need to talk about the AFLW scheduling. That was our 4th game in 15 days, and I think it was the Dogs' 3rd in 14 days, I think maybe. That is way too much footy being played. It's borderline dangerous. It's getting to that stage. They're not only being forced to play an intense winter sport closer to summer in 30-degree heat in some cases, but they're being forced to play double the amount of games in a week than the men do. You're never going to get good games of footy like that. It is stupid. This is a professional sport being treated like crap. I know I talked about the Dogs before, but they were exhausted too. So were we. Both teams were exhausted. We probably had to play that way. We had girls cramping early into the second half. 4 games in 15 days is wild. Both teams looked absolutely cooked by the end of it. We do have a big break coming up, which is good for the rest of our season, but AFLW fixturing is a major issue. People talk about the games being boring. This is a big reason why some of the games are played this way. It's an issue not only for the state of bodies, but for the state of the game. If that match was played with a genuine week break, it would not have been as boring. This was just a dull affair that was bound to happen. We played a defense-heavy team, and we were absolutely cooked. It was always going to be low scoring. As boring as the game was to watch, we did well to get the win. We kind of saw the game being played out in this manner, but we didn't try and change too much because we had the upper hand anyway. It was a matter of time before the Dogs let us score, so we kind of let them defend the way they were until we managed to get those majors. It isn't our biggest win of the year. It's not even close, but it would be close to our most comfortable. Some quick stats for you. We led disposals by almost 100, uncontested possessions by almost 100. We had 100 marks to their 40, almost double for inside 50s. We had almost 100 more disposals, but less turnovers and more tackles, showing how good our pressure and ball use was. But the best stat, the one I love, 4 from 4. 4 wins from a brutal run of games. Not against tough teams, but 4 games in 15 days. To get 12 points from that is massive, so it's huge for the club. Now we rest and relax. I'll get on to our round 8 preview shortly, but first the votes. 1 vote to Maddie Gay. She was facing a heavy tag, but still managed to be such a force in defence, setting us up well with that mature head and using the ball so well. 2 votes to Bess Keeney. She managed her first goal for the club, but also just tore up on that wing. 3 and 4 to Maddie P and Georgia Nanscore, and that midfield duo is on a genuine tear right now. They're in insane form. But speaking of form, Georgia Clark, she has to be in All-Australian contention right now. She is playing footy I didn't think was possible from her. You'd love someone like her next to Ben Mackay with the men. She had 25 disposals, 8 intercepts, and a game high 10 marks. She was nuts. Some unlucky not to get votes. Amelia Radford was right up there. Amy Gaylor again stiff. I really liked Elise Gamble and Bonnie Toogood too, but yeah, those are the votes. The overall tally, Maddie P still leads the way. She's 5 votes ahead of Georgia Nanscore, her midfield partner, and Georgia Clark, who is genuinely awesome for us back there now. Maddie Gay has 14 votes. She's been great. Those 4 are head and shoulders clear. Then the rest are all in single digits. Daria Bannister, Steph Wales, Captain Steph Kane on 8, the injured Van der Heuvel on 7, and Paige Scott and Brooke Walker round out the 10 with 5. Keep it up, girls. Alright, our next match. Now, this is a big one. We currently sit on 5 wins from 8 games. 1 more win could mathematically secure finals, but it's unlikely, so we probably need to go out and win 2 from our last 3 games, which means we would have to go and beat North or Richmond before Carlton. On Sunday, we play North at Windy Hill, and in the AFL that might sound like a breeze, but North are actually first on the ladder in the AFLW, or they will be at the end of round 7. They've won all games bar 1, and the match they didn't win was a draw against Geelong, a surprising draw. So maybe, just maybe, there is room for an upset. If the Cats can get a draw, maybe the Bombers can too. I don't know. I think we lose this one, to be honest. North are an incredible side. They are first for a reason. They do have a shorter break. They play in Hobart tomorrow against the Swans, so they go from Sunday to Sunday while we go from Friday to Sunday. Maybe that could help. It'll be good to see a full game from a fully fit list again. Well, not fully fit, but you know, a list not playing 4 games in 15 days. I'm most keen for that. So North next Sunday, fill that hill. It's a huge game for the club. We'll go in as heavy underdogs, but a statement win against the top of the table team would be great. And that is that. Cheers for watching. Good job to the girls for getting that grueling win over the line. 4 from 4. Finals well and truly on the cards now. We got to win some tough games, though. That is all. Cheers for watching. Like, subscribe, and go Bombers.